Hello there and welcome back. Today we talk about the Lexicon Primetime. So I think this is the model M93. It comes from the 70s, is a very interesting vintage delay with a lot of limitation but also some very cool feature, and I got it 1 day ago, so I'm just playing in it. I'm not still very familiar with it, but I'm kind of loving it already. It goes very nicely with the SH, same color. I love aesthetically, so I always wanted to have one. I traded something for it, so I'm just going to show you how it works, my first impression, and then try it with the SH and also some rhythm with the OP1 and see how it sounds. So before going on, as usual, the way you can support the page: subscribe, that's free and easy. You can share the content, you can buy from the affiliate link down below, or become a Patreon where I publish exclusive video, some in-depth content and more goodies. Okay, let's go back and let's see what is this big guy. So the Primetime basically is a double delay. It has two separate delay that has independent time, written down here in millisecond, that you can link together if you want, meaning link together if you just set up the same time of whatever, and there's table that describes you like what correspond, for example, certain millisecond to which division will correspond. So that's something that you need to calculate, sadly, but also it's fun to just go random and find more, unpredictable delay line. It has a VCO, basically is an oscillator, I would call it an LFO somehow, that will change the time, so we can create warbliness and all of this nice artifact that we like. It has a 2-slider mixer. This part decide the feedback of the delay and the source level that goes into the feedback line. You have 2 roll-off that basically will decide how the frequency are cut in the repetition, in the feedback signal. You have the multiply part, that is probably the coolest part of this thing. I will show you how it works soon. And then you have an output mix where you decide the signal that go out. In this last part, you have an overlord when you are distorting. Here you have your headroom signal, like the input. And then you can invert phase of the delay and the in signal and bypass your delay. So you can set the feedback and the output of the 2 separate delay using the color-coded slider. So it's a digital, of course, delay. It sounds very interesting, and the maximum delay time, let's start one by one. So let's first see how it works. If the delay is like this, we have a signal that goes into the delay circuit. That can be now done because we have nothing engaged yet. So the source come here. I can decide the output level of the source, thinking it as a sort of wet-dry. This is the dry signal. And here you have the wet, the delay part. Now, even if I put it up, nothing happened because in the source, there's nothing going in the circuit. So if I raise this, now you hear the delay. So you also have an aux line. So basically you can feed this guy 2 signal. In this case, I'm using just the Roland in the in, and aux, there's nothing. This explains mostly it. So the maximum time millisecond is 256 milliseconds. That is very little. But what happened is like you have a multiplier here. So with multiplying it, it can become few seconds of delay, because of course if you multiply 256 by 8, how much is that? Do the calculation. And let's hear it so you understand what I'm saying. So also what happened is like if you use the multiply one pair, so basically it's a very fast delay, as you can hear. And it also used the full bandwidth of the kilohertz. Basically, I guess it has some the memory of this guy, the processor of this guy, to multiply the delay time. It basically cut some bandwidth in kilohertz, and that is kind of cool, because the more you use the multiply, the more the sound get crunchy and lo-fi. Anyway, let's see. This is the delay, one pair. I didn't put any recirculate, so meaning the feedback, so it's just one tap. Let's now double it. 4 pair. As you can hear, the sound of the delay is degraded. Right? So this doesn't really work right now. It works with the recirculate, but basically what it does, you use the memory or whatever, the processing power, and to make it a longer delay, it will have to cut the frequency of your sound. You can say, oh, what the hell, that is bad. It could be, but it's also the fascinating part of this machine, because it creates this sound that is interesting. So what happened is like you have those kind of tape warbliness, distortion, whatever, made by the machine. And on top of that, you can add a VCO that can modify the sound. And this happens when there is recirculation. So what is the recirculation? Basically, you had the feedback. So now we are working just with this. So let's put some recirculation on. And as you can hear, now you have more feedback. On the feedback, you have the roll-off, and this decides the band that will pass through. So if you have it like this, only the low end will keep feedback. This is the opposite. As you can hear, change. So if you want something natural, you put in the middle. As you can hear, it's very fascinating. The sound is instant vintagey, and I love it. It's. We will discuss later about the price of this thing and if it's worth to have, because that's, I'm sure, is a question that everybody will have. So let's now add, and let's use the other delay. So let's turn down, and let's. So this is 73 milliseconds, so very fast. So we can, for example, use this one with a high pass, and this other one more with a low pass. And if you start mixing them together, of course that then too much feedback. So for example, right now we have something going on. There's no other effect going on. Could be nice to have a reverb if you want. now there's the LFO that work with the VCO, and the VCO basically change the time. It's like a fine tuning to match the tempo you really need. If you push it like this, basically the repetition will be exactly what you see here. But if you uncalibrate, and this is get light, you can then fine tune. And if you start adding the LFO will impact the VCO, and so ends creating the warbliness and this tone. And it's very interesting. So right now we have something that's going on, and you can always decide to change the multiplication of it. So for example, let's make it faster. Like this is almost a slapback. And if you go to 1 per, it's definitely so this is without, this is with. When it's very fast, they start having acting sometimes like a comb filter and adding phasing and a chorusy, sometimes reverb-ish kind of effect. For example, if you go in the range of the very little millisecond, here it is. This is a sort of how you call it? Not tremolo, vibrato, but also sounds a little like a chorus. So you can put these slower, and here we are, you have a sort of tremolo effect. This is a little scratchy, it was very scratchy, so I have to. So as you can hear, you get into very interesting kind of sound. That is nice to use as a bass. For example, here's some different sound. See how it changed this. And let's now go. Of course, you can make combination knowing the time. I don't have the table right now, understanding division, so we don't care. I'm just using right now as a tone shaping machine. For example, from this to this. So you can get all the sort of warbly, weird tones. There's one other function that I really love, and that is the repeat and hold. So what happens is, like, you can play, and if you press this, it will grab your delay and keep repeating it. Let's remove this for the time being. For example, now I sample this little thing. What is cool is like this react with the delay multiplier. So you can sorta have fun and create some snippet, and these are really nice and glitchy because you can, you know, create interesting part. Let's now I sampled something. So I think all of these features make these things pretty interesting. Of course, it's far from being a high-end, not high-end, but because when it come out, this was pretty high-end thing. Let's hear, I want to hear with some drum. And let's plug in this friend of mine, the OP. Let's see what I have. Let's try to hear. So you can start setting up your first delay and then the other one. And I like because also just using the I guess the preamp, whatever it has in here. This is the clean sound. It somehow make it fatter. I really like it. Let's see if I have something melodic in. Let's not distort. So, as you can hear, it kinda make the sound fuller and add this sort of ambience. It is kinda subtle. And then now I want to discuss about how useful this can be in the studio. One thing that I love is this. It's getting it's sampling snippets that to me sounds very, very cool. Once I get rid of the scratchiness. And this could be, you know, sample that you use. Anyway, let's figure it out. My thought about this. So I had it in try. I couldn't send it back. You know, it came a little rough, and it cost a lot. This is very rare, and they're very collectible. And you know, I feel it's one of those units that in the future will be very hard to find. And I kinda enjoy the idea to have it. I trade other stuff, so I didn't have to pay on top to grab it. It's a very limited and weird unit, but it somehow adds to your sound something. It has a lot of mojo, and of course now I just went very fast, but I think used in send and return with a mixer, and so use it as a effect that you can use easily with all of your other synth, more as a tone shaper rather than a delay. This is very, very cool. There's one version of the Primetime made by Sound Toys that I have, because I have the Sound Toys suite. It's fun to use, but definitely doesn't sound at all like this in my experience. Try to match the setting, and it's a different beast. Fun and useful, but this has something. This is something that I really, really enjoy. For example, a simple sound like this. Now, can this be done with plugin? Of course. The fact is, like, I love hardware, and I'm lucky enough to get a chance to have some of this unit, so I love it, and it's a piece of history. And to me, layers of texture is what make music interesting. So sometimes I just hear stuff like this, and I'm already, you know, sold. Hear the crunchiness and this. It's super simple, but to me super fascinating. So I guess you can make this with Ableton. You can use 2 delay, add some filtering in it, and have fun. I believe that some of this machine really had some kind of tone that it's inspiring for me. It's fascinate me. You know, probably it's just in my head. It's just a placebo thing to have hardware unit. But yeah, what can I say? I will hold on this guy because I love the idea to own a piece of history that gives me this kind of story. Anyway, I bought together this and a Eventide H3000, and that's also a pretty crazy machine, and I will review them in a few upcoming weeks. Okay. I hope this was interesting, and yeah, I'll probably come back with this with other sound, and when I play, when I settle with my mixer and stuff. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Ciao.